Hello everyone, my name is Emily Roush and I'm here to speak to you today a little bit about animals in captivity, specifically orcas. Now I know everyone's heard of the controversy about the SeaWorld and having their orcas in captivity. Well, I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about a certain whale, Tilikum. Now unfortunately Tilikum died last year from natural causes, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about where his story began. Now, Tilikum was not born in captivity. He was a free wild orca that they caught in Alaska, and they captured and put him in captivity. Now, unfortunately, Tilikum was put into a tank with 3 other female orcas that sat there and beat and abused poor Tilikum. When the veterinarians looked over Tilikum, they saw bite marks. He had scratches from the female orca's teeth all over his dorsal fins and his skin. Now, anyone can be upset from being sitting there and beaten and abused all day. And they also put Tilikum into a cage that was too small for his size. Tilikum was an extremely large orca. And the first incident that was with Tilikum was in Sealand in Alaska, where his trainer had slipped into the ocean, slipped into the tank, and it doesn't say exactly what orca brought him under, but they know that Tilikum was the one that had fully drowned the trainer. Now this was unfortunately all over national news. Now, once SeaWorld in Orlando saw this, they said, well, hey, we will buy Tilikum from you, and we'll have him just for breeding purposes. We won't have him interact with the trainers. Well, and that's what it started out to be. A lot of the trainers, when they first got Tilikum, said, hey, he's going to be for breeding purposes. We're not going to train him. And that's how it started. Now, unfortunately, as Tilikum got to know the trainers and the trainers got to know Tilikum, they decided he's not a bad whale, that it was his first incident was an accident. It could happen to anyone who gets beaten and abused and who's in a small tank. So they decided to start working with Tilikum and training Tilikum and to just love people and enjoy life again. And Tilikum slowly started to. And then there was another incident where a civilian had stayed in SeaWorld after hours and had gotten in the tank with Tilikum and decided that he was going to go swimming with him. Now, just like any other animal, if you're going to come into a cage that is not your own without him knowing who it is, there's going to be consequences. And unfortunately, that person did die. And so the trainer said, okay, this is another incident. So they let Tilikum, relaxed him, let him do his own thing for a little while, and then they started showing him again. Now the next incident that happened, and everyone has heard about this, is with Don Bradshaw. Unfortunately, this was another nationwide incident for Tilikum. He was upset that day, and if you have watched the documentary Blackfish, you will see that the trainer, Don Bradshaw, had stated that she does not feel that it's best to show the killer whales. She said that the dolphins have been acting up, the orcas were not listening as well, and that it was just one of those days where unfortunately he wasn't in a good mood, and several of the other animals just weren't in a good mood. And so when SeaWorld went to put on their show, Don had slipped once again and had fallen into Tilikum's tank. And Tilikum did drag, unfortunately, Don down, and he had ripped her head and scalped her. Now, after this incident, SeaWorld went on and apologized nationwide, said that Tilikum would no longer be showed, that he would only be for breeding purposes, as he was only supposed to have been so many years ago before the other 2 incidents. After the Don Bradshaw incident, they put Tilikum in a cage by himself where he lived out the rest of his days and got into a battle with pneumonia and unfortunately lost after fighting with it for 2 years. Now, so many people say, well, why can't you release Tilikum back into the wild if he's been such a disruptance? Well, Tilikum was caught at the age of 2 and he died at the age of 36. 34 years is a long time to be living in captivity and having someone hand feed you every day. Once you've been in captivity for so long, you forget how to catch food on your own, and you lose several of those immune systems that the wild orcas have. And unfortunately, that's what SeaWorld has come to with several of their orcas that they still have. Many of them were born in captivity and don't have the immune system that other wild orcas have. They don't have the capability of going out and catching their own fish. And so many people have such a big controversy saying that we should let these orcas free. Well, unfortunately, we cannot, just for the fact that they will not survive. And so you have these innocent creatures here whose fault it isn't for being born in captivity. And so, with that being said, does anyone have any questions?
Were they seeking to catch a killer whale whenever they found him?
Yes. So back then, killer whales, the fishermen would make a lot of money catching the killer whale. And what they would do is they would separate the pods. There would be several boats of fishermen. They would go out and they separate the calves from the mothers, and they would capture the younger calves and sell them, and they would make a lot of money for it. Now, a lot of the fishermen could see the distress in the killer whales' faces. The killer whales have an emotional system like humans. So when something like their family being torn apart is very hard for them, and they cry just like we do. They just don't have tears. It's in their vocals.
Is Tilikum the only killer whale to actually kill someone? Well, a trainer?
Unfortunately, he is not. There have been several other cases that haven't been as publicized as Tilikum's incident was, but there have been several to have been killed. And not even just killed, several of the trainers have been just drugged down by the orcas. And luckily for them, they've been able to hold their breath, and they have the proper training and know what to do in those incidences.
And last question, do you think that this happens because the killer whales are in captivity?
I do and I don't. Unfortunately, in Tilikum's case, I do believe that a lot of his issues stirred from being in captivity. He knew what it was like to be free, and he had his family. And so I do believe that the first couple incidences were stirred from him being in captivity. However, the other cases that have come across, I believe that we are playing with wild animals, and we are trying to train wild animals to swim with us and do what we ask them to do. So I do believe it has a lot to do with captivity. You will not find a case of a wild orca actually killing a human being in the wild. So it does have a lot to do with the captivity. Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.